podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Portugal. There's so much to do, but so little I feel like I have to do when we are here. Talk about a foreign feeling. When we are back from vacation, let's make sure we are still on track with our investment plans. You know, just in case we want to retire here.
With Vanguard Advice, no matter what your retirement goals are, we can help you get there. That's the value of ownership. Visit Vanguard.com and explore Vanguard Advice. All investing is subject to risk. Fund shareholders own the funds that own Vanguard. Services are provided by Vanguard Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor.
Love tennis with Matchpoint Tennis Championships. It's time to take to the courts with a brand new tennis sim, delivering an authentic and dynamic tennis gameplay experience.
Welcome back to the Love Tennis Podlet. It's the end of day 4 at Wimbledon. I always say to people who are struggling to get through Wimbledon, this is as far as you need to get. Once you get past the first 4 days, everything else is easy. Half the matches have been played. Almost all of our energy is gone. I'm James Gray of iNews.co.uk and the iNewspaper. I've got Calvin Betton, our resident tennis coach, with us tonight. We could have had George Belshaw as well, but I saw how much wine he brought with him to centre court today, and I didn't think he'd be much use by 10 to 11 at night. So we're going to go through what happened at Wimbledon today. We'll also talk a bit about what's going on tomorrow, and we'll get Calvin's thoughts on his experiences of being in the bubble. And I used to say in the bubble because, you know, that's kind of what you call tournaments, but now it has a whole different meaning. So we'll get Calvin's views from the inside anyway. I mean, Calvin, you obviously were there with Henry, and they went out first round with Julian Cash, which is disappointing. But your experiences being back at Wimbledon, I mean, did it feel different because there were just more people there this year?
Yeah, it was totally different from last year. We could walk round. Last year we couldn't walk. We couldn't walk and watch any tennis. That was the weird thing. Right? I've never been at a tennis tournament where watching tennis was banned. You couldn't watch any tennis last year, so it was just back to normal, wasn't it, this year?
And was it? I mean, I assume that made it a much more enjoyable experience. But when you've obviously got the pressures of preparing for a match and everything that you go through, are you able to enjoy it?
You watch very little tennis. That's the thing. What stands out there? I only thought today that I didn't actually go and watch any of that. After just saying that about last year, we couldn't watch anything. This year, the only matches I watched Paul Jubb's match against Nick Kyrgios from the balcony where the restaurant was. But you actually don't get time to just go around and watch tennis. Especially with the doubles, because I don't know if everyone knows, but in doubles, it's more difficult to get practice because obviously singles gets priority. So you get 1 hour a day when you're allowed to practice, but if you're not playing that day, you want at least another hour. So you can't book anything before about lunchtime on the day of when you want to train. So you're then basically around lunchtime, you're trying to find out if anyone else wants to practice and if you can get a court and trying to jump on. And you're basically looking, the courts at Wimbledon close at 7 p.m, the practice courts, and singles players tend to want to practice until about 5:30. So you're basically hunting for the 6 till 7 slot.
So it all becomes actually quite a busy day of sort of horse trading, basically.
Yeah, and then, you get things where with doubles pairs where you ask one player if they want to train and if they want to play practice set or something, and they say they will, but they'll ask their partner, and then their partner's been asked by somebody else at the same time. So it becomes a bit of a lottery.
And in terms of Henry, because the people will have heard Henry and Julian, they were on day 2 Podlet. If you want to go listen to my interview with them, please do. They were kind enough to come on, and really good value for it. I know Julian's been to Wimbledon before. Henry, obviously his first experience. I mean, do you think those kind of experiences help you develop as a player because it gives you a little bit of added motivation, or you learn something from being there? What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. It definitely doesn't do any harm. I think you definitely pick things up. I think, as they said on the podcast, that they enjoyed being around the higher level of player and that kind of thing. They got plenty of good practice in against. Well, they got an hour and a half, an hour and 40 minutes in against the best player in the world. So you don't get that very often.
I wasn't aware of this. Were they hitting with Joe and Rajiv? Is that right?
Yeah. They played practice set and a bit more against Joe and Rajiv. A few practice drills. So,
how do you think they shaped up against them?
There was nothing in it. I don't know what the etiquette is with this. Like, I know in boxing,
Yeah, you're not supposed to talk about sparring.
You never talk. You never say who won, do you? It was close. It's a good session.
Excellent. Well, I'm sure we'll hear more tales of woe and of course fortune over the next couple of weeks. But there's also lots of tennis for us to talk about over the last couple of hours. Overall, a pretty good day for Brits at Wimbledon. I think everyone will agree. As we're going to go through, the first bit of good news came on centre. Katie Boulter came back from a set down to Karolina Pliskova. 3-6, 7-6, 6-4 she won. Her second ever win against a top 10 player after her first ever win a week ago against Karolina Pliskova at Eastbourne. She's a university, well, I don't know about university, but she's as popular a player as I know in British tennis with fans. You know, because she made a decent breakthrough. She's obviously a great looking girl. You know, we say that often about Jack Draper, that it helps he's a good looking guy. It helps her image in the same way. People know who she is. And now she's starting to back it up with grass court results, Calvin, which gives you a big cachet. You know, if you want to do well at one Grand Slam in Britain with fans, it's Wimbledon, isn't it?
Yeah, and you know, the thing with Katie, she's just a really nice girl as well, which I think comes across. I think that helps the fans know that. They start to get a feeling for that. And there's not really any question about her ability. You know, the question marks with Katie are always whether her body holds up from one tournament to the next and during the tournament, which hopefully it does. We'll see, I guess, over the next couple of weeks, and then we'll see over the next few months as well.
I watched, well, pretty much every ball of the first two sets of this match. What surprised me, Calvin, was that she, certainly in the early stages, and to be fair, it didn't really pay off, was willing to kind of go toe-to-toe with Pliskova from the baseline, which I kind of looked at that and thought, well, surely this is not going to end well because, you know, she's a top 10 player with top 10 power. I mean, it is actually the reality that Boulter can compete with that kind of power.
Yeah, I actually didn't watch loads of the match. I just watched the highlights just now. I was driving home from Wimbledon when they played. But that's the thing, though. I mean, she's a good ball striker. She hits a big ball. She has a decent first serve. And I think a lot of the players look at Pliskova and think once you take the serve out of it, she can hit hard, but she's not Naomi Osaka hitting hard. So they think there's not a lot else there. She moves very poorly. Doesn't move great at all, and she doesn't have much feel or anything. So you get the serve in. I think Katie and a lot of other players fancy their chances off the baseline against Pliskova.
Well, it paid off by the end because she did, as I say, come through in 3 sets. It was a fabulous finish. It was also nice. She did her on-court interview. She thanked a lot of her family were there, and she mentioned that her grandmother had passed away just 2 days before winning that match, and obviously got incredibly emotional, and, you know, credit to her for sort of standing up and getting out there and still, you know, playing so well and not letting it affect her. She's through to the third round of a Grand Slam for the very first time at the age of 25. She will play Harmony Tan, the conqueror of Serena Williams, who beat Sarah Sorribes Tormo. Harmony Tan was the talk of the town today, and not just for her tennis. She pulled out of her doubles on Wednesday. She was due to play with Tamara Korpach, the German player. She pulled out at an hour's notice with a thigh injury. To say Korpach was not happy is a bit of an understatement. She posted on Instagram that she was incredibly angry and sad. She said if you play for 3 hours and then can't play doubles the next day, you're not a professional. She said it was discourteous of her to have left her waiting on court, in fact, until an hour before the match. She then apologised for those comments today and deleted them and said she wanted people to stop being horrible to Harmony, and then posted after Harmony Tan won, "Great that you've recovered so quickly from your thigh injury onto round 3. I mean, Calvin, this does happen quite a lot, doesn't it? I mean, that players, you know, go a bit deeper in the singles than they're expecting and then pull out a doubles at the last minute.
Yeah, it's a problem. I don't really know what the way around it is, to be honest. And it's like when I was actually having this conversation with somebody yesterday, talking about singles players coming and playing doubles, and they were saying it'd be great if more singles players would play doubles. But I was saying all that it ends up doing is it messes the draw up because they're either going to not try in the first place and lose, or they're going to go out, or they're going to go out early. They could go out early in the doubles, in which case, what's the point in that? Or they're going to not go out early, keep winning, and they will pull out. Like, you're not going to get the best players in the world and not going to keep playing doubles right through the tournament.
Not in best of five. It does happen in the women's game.
Yeah,
in best of
yeah,
three.
it does. It does that in the women's game. To be fair, yeah.
Is it? I mean, I had this suggested to me because it's also happened with Nick Kyrgios has pulled out of the doubles with Thanasi Kokkinakis. You know, a Grand Slam winning pair. Kyrgios, after he got through to the third round, then binned off the doubles, saying his body wouldn't be able to take it. I mean, someone said to me, a general sports reporter who doesn't do tennis, particularly said, "Oh, can they not just replace the player?" I mean, I appreciate that's not currently allowed, but is it not? You would be able to see some holes in this, I'm sure. Would it not be possible to change the rules and say you can alternate a player into your team?
Yeah, I've always thought that that's a harsh rule because it's sometimes the players that there's no reason why not. And when you're into alternates, it's not like a team. The way that it works now with the teams at the bottom end of getting in the draw, the teams are always changing at the last minute anyway. So it's not like you're getting set pairs. I guess you could just say the next highest ranked player goes in with that player if they want to, and if that player doesn't want to play it, they pull out. I don't get why is Kyrgios even playing he said he wasn't going to play doubles at Wimbledon, didn't he, initially when they won the Australian Open? Said he wasn't going to do it, and he counts himself as the best grass court player in the world. So did he not think he'd be winning 2 rounds at this tournament?
Yeah, I don't really understand as well, because I know for a fact there are a lot of players who wanted to play with Thanasi Kokkinakis because they kind of foresaw this situation. I know for example, Zhang Shui actually texted Thanasi and said, you know, would you like to play mixed, because I think we'd be a really great pair. Now, obviously, like, Nick Kyrgios hasn't taken up Kokkinakis' mixed spot there, but I think he said that he didn't want to play mixed and doubles and singles because, you know, Kokkinakis had his own injury history and didn't think his body could take it. If Nick had said, I don't want to play doubles because, you know, I'm going to make the third round, then yeah, maybe he wouldn't have done. I think it's a real shame for him. Like, he's out of the singles because he got Djokovic in the second round, and that happens. And he's a genuinely good doubles player. He's got big serves, he's got big forehand. Like, I know he's not orthodox, but he could have done some damage, made some money, and, okay, not picked up any ranking points, but he would have done decently, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he's won a Grand Slam. And, you know, it wasn't Kyrgios who won that Grand Slam by himself, although I'm sure he thinks it was, you know, Kokkinakis. I actually watched them play the other day because they played the guys who Henry and Julian played in Miami this year, and I watched that match back. Kokkinakis can seriously play doubles. He can seriously play singles as well, to be fair.
Yeah, just one of those weird stories that was going around today. Who knew that Harmony Tan would be such a big news story in so many different ways?
I must say, I don't really like the pulling out and you know, there's no injury, obviously. It's just pulled out because she's still in singles. I don't like that. The tournaments have to be firmer with that. You can't just be pulling out. If you pull out of one, you've got to pull out both. Yeah. And then suddenly you'd find that they've got some energy to play it.
But then you would get, well, the tournaments might say, well, then you're going to get, like, players just turning up and walking around the court for an hour so that they can lose, when you could get an alternate pair in who would provide more entertainment for the fans.
Yeah, but I mean, once the tournament started. Or had they not played a match yet?
No, they haven't. Yeah, it's pre-first round.
Yeah, then that's where what we're saying. I don't like that one player can't just come in as an alternate.
Yeah. Anyway, the politics of doubles, eh? Who'd be a tournament director? More good success for Brits today as well, out on court number 3. I was watching a couple of different bits of this match. Liam Broady beating Diego Schwartzman 6-2, 4-6, love 6, 7-6, 6-1. Came back from 2 sets to 1 down. He was a breakdown in the 4th as well. For the second time in the tournament, Broads told me, he decided that he was probably going home, and then he pulled it back to a tiebreak. I mean, you said you watched the tiebreak, Calvin. It was a good one, and it was probably the highest level of the match. It was probably one of the few points in the match where I thought they were both playing pretty well.
Yeah, I was driving home, and then I kept I was receiving texts off a few mates with the scores, and then somebody said that Brody's had gone into a tie break, so I pulled into the nearest services and watched it, and it was a really good standard tie break, some really good baseline hitting. I think Brody's thought he'd won it already. There was a weird shot where Schwartzman had hit one that looked like it was going about a meter long, and Brody started walking to the chair, and then the ball just dipped and hit the line. And then Brody he challenged the call and then immediately told Schwartzman that it was in. Which is just, it's always that classic one, I think. And I've seen Federer do this, and it worked once, that you know it's in, but you just hope that Hawkeye's got it wrong.
Yeah.
And he just immediately, I think Schwartzman asked him, and Brody immediately put his palm down to go, yeah, it was in. But then he came back. That can often be a heartbreaker, that. And then he came back and won the set from there. And I didn't see the fifth set, but it looks like he tore away with it.
Yeah, well, I watched the first and last sets, which were the two that Brody's really dominated. And what was amazing about certainly the first set is his forehand. I mean, he just peppered the baseline. Like, I've never seen someone hit such consistent length. Like, it wasn't that it was massive. It was just that Schwartzman couldn't get anything going because he was always having to pick it up off his toes, basically, or drop miles behind the baseline. And while he is natural for doing that, I was just really impressed. Like, I don't think I've seen Liam Brody's forehand look like that before.
Yeah, he's had some issues with his forehand over the years. Seems to have got over the worst of that now. He's still a bit scratchy at times, I think. He knows that, but he's managed it really well, and he just competes so well. That's the thing with Brody. He's such a competitor.
2 5-setters in 3 days now, and I have to say, he didn't look tired at the end of it. I mean, I know adrenaline's a wonderful thing. Maybe a third match would be hard work, but
I mean, he's a fit guy. He's a really fit guy. It's funny because just after he finished, I was talking with Luke, who's really good mates with Brodes, obviously. We were saying it, and I guess it's the same for a lot of these players, but especially someone's in Brodes' position. At what point does the elation, how long after does the elation of having done it, does it hit you? You're getting no ranking points for this. And then I can't imagine there's anything that would have such elation leading to such anger in no time.
Yeah, I mean, he was asked this exact question afterwards. I think it was in his first question, actually. And he kind of laughed it off, and he was like, look, I'm still 120 grand and I'm still in the third round of Wimbledon, which is, a lot of things. And he's also losing, I think, 45 points from last year as well. So he's actually going to drop down to like 130 in the world after Wimbledon, which is probably going to feel a bit weird. But he talked quite well about how, like, he's always ending up on the wrong side of ranking points. Like, he was playing Challenger in Phoenix and he beat Goffin and Rinderknecht. And, like, there were guys playing smaller tournaments elsewhere in the world getting more points for beating worse players. And he also made a good point about qualies, like Grand Slam qualies. You only get 25 points if you qualify through for the third round of qualies in Grand Slam. But there are always challengers that week, and you could go and win a challenger or win 3 matches at a challenger and get more points. Which,
I always find that weird. 25 points for qualifying for a slam is ludicrous. That's the same as winning. It's the same as winning a 25k, obviously, and the difference in standard is phenomenal.
Yeah.
From winning a 25k to winning 3 matches to qualify for a slam, it's apples and oranges.
Yeah, it's very strange. But he's old enough and ugly enough these days that he can wear it, and he said as much. And he said, I never thought I'd make top 100, so I'm not really worried about eventually doing it. I never thought I'd win a challenger. By the time I won one, I wasn't that bothered about it because I'd sort of taken that out of my... He says now in very management speak, he often says, like, oh, I'm so process-driven, which, I know is a phrase you hate, Calvin.
Yeah, it's a nonsense. The players all know it's a nonsense as well. They don't. If you're all process driven, then you wouldn't get pissed off when you're losing points. You'd go, yeah, quite good. I'm following the process.
Yeah, exactly. Let's move on. I mean, brilliant for Brodes, as I say. It was really great to watch, and it was great to be out in the court 3. He's got Alex de Minaur in the next round, who beat Jack Draper in 4 sets. A decent run for Jack. Obviously, glad to get to the second round, but he will have fancied beating de Minaur, especially after winning the first set and having opportunities to win the second as well. But he lost the tiebreak 7-love and then only won 5 more games. The roof shut. There was a rain delay. Don't think that helped him either, but it's obviously the same for both players. How do you think Broad shapes up against Alex de Minaur, Calvin? I think that's not a bad matchup for him.
It's a good matchup, I think. De Minaur actually played really well tonight. I watched the majority of that match. When I got home, after I swore on the way home, I said I didn't think I spoke to a mate. I said I don't think I'm going to watch any tennis for the next week. So I've had about 2 days off in 5 weeks. So I don't want to. Yesterday was pretty disappointing. So I said I don't want to see any Wimbledon. I got in and watched about 3 hours of tennis. He was, he played well, de Minaur. But I think Broads matches up with him a bit better than Jack does, to be fair.
Yeah. Yeah, I would think so as well, actually, because I was just wondering, if someone like de Minaur, if he's going to start running Draper down, what's he got? What's he going to do? Broads is used to that, I think.
Yeah.
Might be a bit. And you know what? I mean, I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but Liam Broady's section is the winner of de Minaur Broady plays either Christian Garin or Jenson Brooksby.
Yeah.
I mean,
you'd fancy the win, yeah.
You'd absolutely fancy either of them against that. So, and then they'll get either Kyrgios or Tsitsipas. But pretty interesting little set of matches in that particular section. Another British result from today to mention: Alistair Gray losing to Taylor Fritz. Alistair Gray had a lot of opportunities in that match. He was a break up in each of the first 2 sets. Probably the one takeaway moment was he made a nice volley at the net, an angled forehand volley, cross court and on the run, and he continued his run, towards the crowd, just giving it a quiet little fist pump, forgetting to check if the ball had bounced twice. It hadn't. Taylor Fritz threw himself at the ball, knocked it over the net and won the point, while Alistair Gray was still fist pumping to his box. To win the second set as well. Not a great moment, but I'm sure he'll be getting some stick for that for the next couple of weeks. Heather Watson, incidentally, through to the third round as well. She beat Wang Zhang 7-5, 6-4. Great result for her. She has played, by the way, Heather Watson. She's going to play again tomorrow because that was a hangover match. She's going to have played singles on each of the first 5 days of the championships.
Wow.
Because she had a hangover match Monday to Tuesday and then Wednesday to Thursday, and now she's playing singles again on Friday.
I wonder if anyone's ever done that.
I have asked the question of the All England librarian, who's a fascinating individual, and he's yet to come back to me, which I'm quite pleased about because I might have stumped him, which would be quite something. The thing is,
I guess the only way it could have happened is if some of the days when the rain was just terrible before. But we have not, although we've had rain, I don't think any of Heather's matches have been interrupted by rain, have they? It's just late, I think.
Kind of.
Right?
Kind of a combination of the two, to be perfectly honest. But anyway, it would be amazing if we get her onto 6 days, but she's first on number 1 tomorrow, and obviously number 1 has a roof, so it's virtually impossible unless she plays like a 9-hour match.
Yeah.
Which against Kaya Juvan or really anyone seems incredibly unlikely, and it wouldn't be much of a spectacle.
No.
Anyway, let's move on. Other big results to kind of note today. I mean, Rafa Nadal beat Ricardus Berankis in 4 sets. Not perfect from Nadal, was certainly rusty, but got through. Coco Gauff smashed Mihaela Bozhanescu 6-2, 6-3. Stefanos Tsitsipas through in straight sets. Iga Świątek dropped a set, which is noteworthy, but she certainly came back well and played brilliantly in the third set. So I don't know whether to read much into Leslie Patinama-Kurkova's picking up of the second set there. Nick Kyrgios threw in straight sets as well. Another belter of a press conference from Nick Kyrgios in which he sat there and said, "I've given you nothing to write about. You'll have to write about my tennis." And was then really kind of mouthy for the next 10 minutes. So we all wrote about that. Well, I mean, I didn't write about Kyrgios today, but I can only assume that everyone else did. He said, and I know you'll like this comment, Calvin, half of you to disagree with it. He said, "I know what I bring to the sport. One of the most important people in the sport. Do you want to speak about that?" Calvin, one of the most important people in the sport?
It's like somebody who's sitting on the bench at Barnsley claiming he's one of the most important footballers in the world. Like, unless how can you be one of the most important people in sport and you're never around in the second week of a slam?
Yeah, well, exactly.
Never. Yeah, you got to be, in order to be one of the most important people in the sport, you've got to be winning multiple slams. I mean, I'll say this: he was in the restaurant the same time as me today. He had a really nice pair of trainers on. That's I was tempted to ask him where he got them because I know my trainers a bit and I'd not seen those before. But no, I thought no, I'm just rather not speak to him.
You weren't going to give him the satisfaction.
No.
They're probably his. Were they not like his brand?
No, they were Jordan. For anyone who knows trainers, they were Jordan 1 lows, okay. And they were they're kind of a burgundy and white color, right. And I'd not seen them around.
Well, if you can source some Jordan 1 lows in a burgundy, then Calvin is definitely going to give you some money. Yes, as you say, Calvin, he's not been to the second week of Grand Slam for 7 years. That could change, but he's going to have to beat Stefanos Tsitsipas in the third round, which is going to be an absolute belter of a match on Saturday. We'll maybe talk more about that tomorrow night because we need to preview tomorrow. There was so much tennis going on today that I could probably talk about today forever, but we do need to move on. Maxime Cressy, by the way, is in trouble. He is 2 sets down to Jack Sock, and that match is hanging over into Friday because of a late finish. I just need to check that he is in fact 2 sets down, because that was the case when I left Wimbledon today, and I did indeed have to leave early because I had to come to the office in Kensington and do some quite tedious paperwork. Yes, he is still 2 sets down to Jack Sock, but he is someone I know lots of listeners have been interested in keeping up with because they think that he might do some damage on the grass, and in fact, in fairness, he already is.
The world needs more thinkers, more doers, listeners, and leaders. And it's the mission of Radford University to create and nurture students who are responsive, resilient, and real. Become a Highlander, discover your unique path, and make a positive impact on the world. This is Radford University. Find out more about how you can join the Highlander family. Visit radford.edu/now. That's radford.edu/now.
Opening a business checking account shouldn't be harder than running your business. So why do most banks still make you go into a branch? With Live Oak Bank, you can open an account online in minutes. That's because they put you at the center of every decision they make. With convenient digital access and superior customer support, that's small business checking simplified. Open a business checking account today at liveoakbank.com/businesschecking.
Lady Gangers! The Lady Secrets Tour is coming to your city this fall. Come see Kelty, Jack, and Becca live and be prepared for them to ask about your secrets. Tickets are on sale now and they're going fast, so get yours today. Info and ticket links are available on Ticketmaster and theladygang.com.
Let's look ahead to tomorrow. Apologies if I missed out your favourite player. Hopefully you already know their result. And this is a podlet after all, and it's already longer than they're supposed to be. Centre court tomorrow, Diane Parry up against Ons Jabeur, Novak Djokovic, Maimir Kekmanovic, and Cam Norrie against Steve Johnson. I wanted to talk about Cam Norrie, Calvin, because I was doing a bit of a draw analysis piece for the paper today, and I think Cam Norrie is going to make a Wimbledon semi-final because his draw is just insane. In his quarter, there are only 3 seeded players left. He is one of them. Tommy Paul is another one, and Francis Tiafoe is the third. And then you've got Humbert, Goffin, Bublik, Steve Johnson, who is Cam Norrie's opponent tomorrow, and Jiri Vesely. I mean, you'd back Cam Norrie to go extremely close with any of them, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I can see a world in which he does come through that, and he's one of the favourites, but there are some players in there who could do damage on their day, I think. Bublik's not one who you want to come across deeper into the tournament when he's got some matches under him, although he's absolutely nuts as well, so never know what can happen there.
Do you not think that Cam is the kind of guy, to take Bublik, for example, isn't Cam the exact player Bublik doesn't want to play?
I'd say that would be the case on both ways, though. I don't think either of them would necessarily enjoy playing that type of player. Because in Cam's point of view, Cam makes a lot of balls. He's going to chase, but doesn't do huge amounts of damage off the ground. So Bublik's going to get a hit on it, and he can just blow you away. Humbert, although he's had a terrible year, is winning, and he's, as I've said before, I think he's got a great game for grass. Tiafoe has had good results on grass before. But yeah, you'd favour Cam to beat any of those 6 times out of 10.
Yeah.
But
you're effectively tossing a coin 3 times, and that's
Yeah.
He's got Steve Johnson tomorrow. I mean, Steve Johnson, who dispatched Ryan Peniston and was also on the other side of the net when Gregor Dimitrov retired injured in the first round. I mean, I don't see Steve Johnson as having a huge amount to trouble Cam, but I mean, he's been around a lot and he's been in the third round a lot.
I thought Penno would have done a bit better against Steve Johnson, to be fair, because he's a lefty and Steve Johnson's backhand is terrible.
Right.
But I thought Penno would have given Penno's form over the grass. I thought he might have given him a bit, and Steve Johnson's not been in great form either. It's just strange.
So, you would expect the logical thing is that Norrie would spank him this time.
Cam will win that, yeah.
Novak Djokovic, as I say, up against Miomir Kekmanovic, who has had a good year, but I think we just expect Djokovic has played so well recently. There's not much chance, realistically. And Ons Jabeur Diane Parry, I think, would be great to watch. Anyone who doesn't know Diane Parry, she's got a one-handed backhand, and it is it's a real one-handed backhand. Like she really gives it a rip, and it's definitely worth watching. Over on court number 1, we've got Heather Watson against Kaya Juvan, as I mentioned. Angelique Kerber against Elise Mertens, and Oscar Otter up against Carlos Alcaraz. Speaking of Carlos Alcaraz, he is one of the players that you can play as on Matchpoint Tennis Championships, who are, of course, our sponsor for the Wimbledon fortnight, and we're very grateful for their support. It's only really thanks to them that we're able to do these podcasts every day. That's out on the 7th of July on PC, PlayStation 4, 5 and Xbox. It's also going to be on Xbox Game Pass. I have played it a lot. I can genuinely recommend it. I wouldn't be doing these ads unless I really enjoyed the game, and I really did. It's a really immersive tennis sim. That's what they call it, and I would agree with that. You can create your own player and play a load of tournaments, or you can play as loads of the licensed players, Casper Ruud, Andrei Rublev, Amanda Anisimova, Madison Keys, Nick Kyrgios, Garbine Muguruza, and the boxed retail version also has Tommy Haas and Tim Henman, which I think are going to be available as DLC on the digital version. So that's something to look forward to as well. You can pre-order the game now. It'll come on the 7th of July, or you can buy it from game on the 7th of July. But we're going to tell you to pre-order it, because that way you're guaranteed to get it in case you forget about it on the 7th of July. That's Love Tennis, sponsored by Matchpoint Tennis Championships. The Alcaraz matchup, Oscar Otter, he's a guy who Andy Murray said to me recently, he's not as bad as you all thought he was, because Murray went to 5 sets with him last year. I mean, Alcaraz has kind of grown into the grass a little bit, Calvin, hasn't he? But, he's still only won 2 matches here.
Yeah, I think he struggled a bit in the first one, didn't he?
5 sets with Jan-Lennard Struff.
Yeah.
Which, that happens.
Yeah, Struff's a grass court player. I didn't see any of his match yesterday.
Greg Spory beat 6-4, 7-6, 6-3.
Yeah, it's a good matchup for him, that. Greg Spory. Just similar player and just not as good.
Just
as
much less
most
good.
Players aren't to Carlos Alcaraz.
Yeah. I mean, Oscar Otter, we kind of know a fair bit about him because of that. I'll tell you one thing, he's very underplayed because he beat Peter Gajocic 1-2-1 in the first round, and then Christian Harrison retired 4 games into their second round match. So he got to Friday of the first week of a slam and he's barely played. I mean, there must be a certain point at which, Calvin, you'd rather have had a little bit more match play than that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but the fact he thinks these legs are fresh, I'll take that. I think you'd probably prefer that, if anything.
Yeah.
You'd probably prefer that than what Broads has been through. 10 sets. I didn't realise Christian Harrison had retired. It's funny that, isn't it? 'Cause we were talking about him the other day.
What a good bloke he is.
Well, that and his escapades at Nottingham, where he basically did almost the exact same thing.
Yeah, seems to happen. But he's played a lot of tennis. In fairness, like he played qualies and he went to 5 sets in qualies, and then he played Jay Clark in the first round, and that was over 2 days, and there were 2 tie breaks. So, while I hate to defend, I don't know, I hate to defend him, but there might be more to it than meets the eye. A few other good matches just to pick out tomorrow. Alexander Bublik against Francis Tiafoe. We've just talked about that, but it's first on number 2 court, so it's 11 a.m. I mean, I can't really think of a more entertaining matchup. Surely, you would think that might be two of the best at what they do.
Yeah, that should be a good one for good outdoor, good outside court viewing. That I would think, wouldn't it?
Although it's a shame, really, because number 2 court is entirely ticketed now. So, it's number 3 you can queue up, and I would recommend maybe queuing up for number 3 because there are 4 matches on there, including Jack Sock and Maxime Cressy's, to be finished.
I'm just thinking there, while we're thinking there about this, talking about players pulling out and that kind of thing. I feel like something has to be done at the slams sooner or later with this, as to whether, are there too many? Is there too much tennis going on? Because we seem to be getting more and more withdrawals as time goes on. And do we need some rules about? Do the rules need to be more strict on withdrawing? And if you're going to play singles and doubles, should we allow them to play singles and doubles? It doesn't seem sustainable, and it seems to be happening more and more.
I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? At the lower levels, you absolutely couldn't stop players playing singles and doubles, right? That's that's people making a living. But there is potentially an argument to be made about rejigging the schedule so that for example, there's no need for there to necessarily be a day break between women's matches, for example. So you could kind of weirdly, backload or front load the schedule so you had more singles matches really early on and then a run of doubles matches in the middle of the fortnight. I don't know. I like your idea about not letting people playing singles and doubles though, because, I don't know, but then you say, well, the singles players are the bigger stars and you want them to play doubles because it creates more opportunities for people to see them play. And
or you could do it something like if you do that and you withdraw, you can't do it again for the next year. You can't do it the next 4 tournaments.
But then, if you're genuinely injured, you don't
want to... but if you're genuinely injured, you can't play it either. Yeah, that's my thing. If you're going to pull out the doubles, you have to pull out the singles.
I think they've got to I think if you, we used to have this rule I was at boarding school, right? And the rule was if you were ill one day, you couldn't play sport the next day. It's basically to stop people pulling a sickie on a Friday. And that was actually very effective. And it's kind of the same thing. You surely can't pull out injured of a match, but still be eligible to play a match the next day. I mean because
I know for a fact that 80% of these withdrawals from doubles are when players have won a match at singles and they think, I don't want this affecting my singles run.
Yeah.
And it's hard to determine what they are, but which 80% they are and what the other 20% is. But that's not sustainable. We can't just keep having this.
No.
Or having players like Christian Harrison pulling out at 4-love the second round of a slam for one reason or another. Unless it's an injury that you've sustained during the tournament, in which case I don't see how you can step on the court anyway. Then it just seems to be happening a whole lot, this kind of thing.
15 minutes into his match, Christian Harrison retired. I mean, he's had a lot of injuries in his career, but yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't want to specifically pick on him without knowing more about exactly what's happened to him. But yes, it doesn't seem sustainable to have lots of players pulling out of doubles. It makes scheduling a nightmare. It makes marketing a nightmare. I'm sure that there were lots of people thinking, oh, I'll maybe buy a ticket for this day because Kyrgios and Kokkinakis might be playing doubles this day. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I think tennis, I don't know another sport where people pull out of matches as often as they do in tennis, and it affects the viewing of that. Yeah, players get injured in football, but you just replace them with another player. At any stage. But you can't do that once you pass the first round of a tennis tournament.
No one doesn't go and watch United on a Saturday because Ronaldo got ruled out on a Friday.
Yeah.
Whereas that will happen in tennis, man. That will happen in tennis. I'm absolutely sure of it. Very strange indeed. There's so much more we could talk about, but as I say, we're running out of time, and that's why they're called podlets. They're supposed to be short. I don't know how short this was, but that's the thing. I don't have a Zoom Premium account, so we usually get limited, because there's only 2 of us. There's no limit to how long this could go on. As always, please do leave us a rating or a review wherever you get your podcasts. It makes a massive difference to us. Do follow us on Twitter @LoveTennisPod. Do tell your friends about the Love Tennis podcast, and most importantly, come back tomorrow and listen again.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Love Tennis with Matchpoint Tennis Championships. Get your rackets ready for a thrilling and immersive tennis gameplay experience. Pre-order now from Game.